Welcome to the second of the Getting Started videos for Heathen Engineering Steamworks. In this video, we'll cover the setup and configuration of the Steam Settings object in the Steamworks Foundation Manager. If you haven't installed Steamworks yet, have a look at the first video in this series, and then come back here. The first thing we want to do is set up our Steam settings. You could reuse the example Steam settings that we provided the example scenes, but it's oftentimes useful to come back to those examples so we don't want to edit them. Creating your own Steam settings is really simple. Just right-click in an asset folder you want to place the Steam settings object in, and select Create, Steamworks, Foundation, Settings. Next, we want to create a Steam user data object. The Steam user data object carries information about a given Steam user. For all users other than the local player, Heathen Steamworks Kit will build up a library of the Steam user data objects for each user your local player meets during a play session. For the local player, though, we want to create a specific Steam user data object to hold its data, so we can easily reference it later without needing to do a lookup. To do that, right-click in your project folder and select Create, Steamworks, Foundation, User Data. Next, select the Steam settings object you created and drag the user data object to the user data field. Next, we set our app ID. You can start with app ID 480, which is the ID for Space Wars. This is the test game Valve set up for Steamworks. If you don't have an app ID yet, it's okay to use app ID 480 for now, but you will want to change that before release. Before we go any further, we want to make sure we also set the app ID in our Steam app ID text file. This is located in the root of your project. It's a simple text file with just the app ID of your app in it. It's important to set this correctly for the editor, as whatever is in here is what the editor will run as, no matter what you set your Steam settings to. Steam settings are used when the game is launched from the Steam client and you don't have a Steam app text file. If you want to learn more about Steam app text file and Steam CMD in general, have a read of Valve's documentation on the subject. Note that anytime you change the app ID, you do need to shut down and restart Unity and Visual Studios. This is because the Steam client won't exit a game until every process that mounted the Steam assemblies as that app ID has shut down. So at minimal, that means the Unity editor and Visual Studios. With our app ID updated and our Steam settings object configured, we're ready to add our manager. The Steamworks Foundation Manager handles the initialization of the Steam API and handles all callbacks for the game client. You should only ever have one instance of this in your game, and it should never be destroyed. It's best served loaded in the first scene of your game, and it's best if that scene is never unloaded, such as in a multi-scene game structure, or if you prefer, you can use the Do Not Destroy on Load option. So to create a Steamworks Foundation Manager, we're going to make a new empty game object in the scene we want to load our managers in. We'll add a Steam Foundation Manager component to it, and finally we drag our Steam settings object to the open slot. That's it. We've now configured our game to initialize and run the Steam API. In the next video, we'll cover the configuration of Steam settings, Steam stats, Steam achievements, and go over the overlay settings. Thank you.